welcome to the second part of the second chapter. Lost Spring, Stories of Stolen Childhood. I want to drive a car. If you all remember the previous chapter, Sahib-e-Alam the rag picker, we had spoken about that. Sometimes I find a coin in the garbage, a rupee in the garbage. Now this is part 2. But before we go on, as always, your explanation shall be, you shall be receiving the explanation in English. Now, I could have gone in Hindi, but let me tell you, when you are doing your references, your extracts, you get a question, you get a paragraph and you're asked questions on that, you need to know the detail of every line, every word, right? Now, if I, do that in Hindi, you will not be able to frame it in English. So I suggest, please listen carefully, attentively, and then you are the master of the chapter. You have mastered the entire chapter and you can frame the best answers to score the best scores. So here we go. Now, this is a story about Mukesh. Now here Anis Jung comes across another little boy, Mukesh, who also has his own dreams. Mukesh insists on being his own master. I will be a motor mechanic, he announces. Now, you will know further what is his background, what are his dreams, and how is he going to go about. But yes, he is very determined. He is very confident that I want to be self-employed. I will not work under anyone. Do you know anything about cars? I asked him. Here is Anis Jung. Do you know anything about cars? I will learn to drive a car, he answers, looking straight into my eyes. Now, he's so confident, he's so determined. He says, no problem. Even if I don't know, I will learn, but I will definitely achieve my dream. His dream looms like a mirage amidst the dust of streets that fill his town, Firozabad, famous for its bangles. Now, here, this dream of his, it looms like a mirage. Looms as in it has that foggy, that foggy look, that foggy approach, and it looks like a mirage. We all know what is a mirage. Mirage is that, you're looking at something, for example, in a desert. When you look far away, you're really thirsty. So, you just feel, oh, there is water over there, few miles away. But it's not there when you go there. So, it is just the refraction, of the light because of the heat out there. So, you feel it's there, but it's not there, right? It's not there at all. So, likewise is his dream. It looms like a mirage. It looms like a mirage. Again, it is a very foggy visibility, right? That's how it is. Amidst the dust of streets that fill his town, Firozabad, famous for its bangles. Amidst, in the middle of, right? In the middle of the dust of streets that fill his town, Firozabad. Now, he is from Firozabad, famous for its bangles. You can see Firozabad right here. Now, this city particularly is famous for making bangles. You saw this here. Just before this we saw, it is so beautiful. They make these lovely, colorful bangles. And here, if you looked at the title, I want to drive a car. What connection? We shall see now. Every other family in Firozabad is engaged in making bangles. It is the center of India's glass blowing industry, where families have spent generations working around furnaces, welding glass, making bangles for all the women in the land, it seems. Now, here in Firozabad, every family, totally every family is occupied in making bangles. That's their source of income. And this has been going on from generation to generation. This tradition has been, continuously going on. So each one of them is totally involved in that. Now, the problem is, They are working around furnaces. Furnaces are those hot rooms. That's that hot machine over there where, you know, they have to do the welding. You know, it's a connecting of bangles, where first in the furnace they melt that glass, whatever piece they have, they melt it into hot liquid and then they shape it. So, you know, they have to work in those hot rooms. You'll know much in detail further down. And they make so many bangles that all the women on the land can afford to wear those bangles. Mukesh's family is among them, just one of those families who makes bangles. None of them know that it is illegal for children like him to work in the glass furnaces with high temperatures in dingy cells without air and light. Now, the problem here is, now because you know, it is just about making bangles, here what they do is they don't even know that it is illegal, that it is against the government law. Now here, if you look at it, is all child labor, right? So it is against the government law for children like him to work in those rooms, in those glass furnaces with high temperatures. Obviously, how will the glass melt? Until and unless the temperature is not very high. So they have to work in those places. In dingy cells, dingy are dark cells. They are dark rooms, they are hot rooms, they are very depressing. I mean, if you enter there, you will not be able to stand there even for a second. But because this has been going on, you know, from generation to generation, it's been like a tradition. So they are okay with it, they have accepted, because that's all they know about. They don't know anything beyond this. They know this is what we are supposed to do. So in dingy cells without air and light, imagine that room is fully blocked. There is there's no air even at all coming. There's no ventilation. So that the law, if enforced, now if that law would be enforced, if the people would get to know that these children are doing this, they could get him and all those 20,000 children out of the furnaces where they slog their daylight hours, often losing the brightness of their eyes. Now, if this law would be implemented immediately, if these people, the government gets to know this, and if the law is imposed, he, along with 20,000 children, would be behind bars. They would be imprisoned. They would be immediately taken out from there. Now, this is the place where they have been slogging all the daylight hours. Now, imagine there's nice fresh air, brightness, the bright sunlight outside, but they are in those dingy cells. They are away from that and they are only seeing the light of the fire. You know, they're only getting the heat of that fire with those high temperatures. What happens? Often losing the brightness of their eyes. Now, that condition, that room thing is such that because of that continuous light coming from the fire, they often lose the brightness of their eyes. They don't have any, eye protection instruments which they use. They just use it. They just directly make their bangles. So they don't use anything to protect their eyes. And for the reason, they lose their eyesight. They lose their vision. Mukesh's eyes beam as he volunteers to take me home, which he proudly says is being rebuilt. Now here, he's happy. He gets that happiness in his eyes. His eyes beam. Why? Because now he is taking Anis Jung home with him. And he tells her that, you know what, my house is being rebuilt. It is being redone. It is being renovated. Here now, if you see the picture, this is how these hot furnaces, these hot dingy cells actually look. We walk down stinking lanes choked with garbage, past homes that remain hovels with crumbling walls, wobbly doors, no windows, crowded with families of humans and animals coexisting in a primeval state. Now, as Anis Jung is walking towards Mukesh's home, what does she come across? She comes across stinking lanes choked with garbage. There is garbage on the road right? And because that garbage is there since days, it is stinking. It is giving a total bad smell. Past homes that remain hovels with crumbling walls. She passes those houses, those mud houses, those temporary mud houses. They're just made up in such a manner that enough for them to live. With crumbling walls, their walls are ready to fall. Chip by chip, those walls are breaking. They're ready to fall any minute. Wobbly doors. The doors are not even fixed. Fixed in the sense, they are fixed, but they are shaky doors. Wobbly here means shaky. When you go for a party, what do? You generally check the chair before sitting. We all do that, don't we? Why do we do that? We make sure that the chair is steady and not wobbly. Please get used to the vocabulary. This chapter has a lot of vocabulary in it, and if you master those words, you can use it for your writing and communication. So coming back, wobbly doors. Wobbly, like I said, the chair, it's nice and steady. It doesn't shake, only then you use that chair. But if it is wobbly, we look for another chair. So likewise, wobbly doors means shaky doors. No windows. There are no windows to that house. Crowded with families of humans and animals. It was jam-packed. It was overcrowded with people, animals, coexisting in a primeval stage. Primeval stage is a very early stage, the early stage in the history during the early times. This is how that the whole place looked. He stops at the door of one such house, bangs a wobbly iron door with his foot and pushes it open. He stops. Likewise, Mukesh's house is also amidst those houses, in the middle of those houses. And what he does is, he knocks on it, he bangs a wobbly iron door with his foot and he pushes it open. We enter a half-built shack. Half-built. It was not even a fully constructed thing, and a shack is something like a hut. Okay, it is something like a hut. In one part of it, thatched with dead grass, is a firewood stove which sits a large vessel of sizzling spinach leaves. Now, as soon as they enter, what happens? One side, it is thatched, the walls, they are thatched with dead grass, the dry grass, the hay types. It is thatched, it is covered with that one part of the wall, and is a firewood stove over which, now there is a firewood stove. In the olden days, we did not have, the gases that we are blessed with. We did not have those instruments then, those products then. So then they had those firewood stove. They used to make it, they used to put the wood and, put the oil and petrol and kerosene and light the fire and adjust. I imagine right now what we do, we, increase the gas and we simmer the gas so easily. But for them, it was a tedious task. So there was a large vessel in which there were sizzling spinach leaves. The lady of the house was probably making something out of spinach, and so they were sizzling, they were boiling. On the ground, in large aluminium platters, are more chopped vegetables. Now, on the ground next to it, there were many more vegetables also which were chopped and kept in the plates, in the trays out there. A frail young woman is cooking the evening meal for the whole family. A frail means a very delicate looking lady, a very weak and a delicate looking young woman. She was cooking the evening meal, the dinner, for the whole family. Through eyes filled with smoke, she smiles. I mean, you can just visualize the scene, as the story is being told to you, please visualize it. The more you visualize it, the more it registers in your mind. So, through eyes filled with smoke. Now, obviously, that fire stove was there right in front of her. So, when she was cooking, there was smoke coming out of it. When you burn wood, smoke comes. So, that smoke was literally there in her eyes. Though she was in that pathetic condition, she welcomed them with a smile. She is the wife of Mukesh's elder brother. Not much older in years, she has begun to command respect as the bahu, the daughter-in-law of the house, already in charge of 3 men. Who are they? Her husband, Mukesh, and their father. Now, being the daughter-in-law of the house, she has taken command as the Bahu. That means she is totally into the role of a daughter-in-law, and she is looking after the 3 men of the house. That's Mukesh, his elder brother, that's her husband, and their father. When the older man enters, she gently withdraws behind the broken wall and brings her veil closer to her face. Olden days, the daughter-in-law, she used to have that ghungat. The veil here is the ghungat. In front of all the elder men of the house, she made sure she would not show her face. She would not reveal her face. So, as soon as the older man enters, obviously her father-in-law, she quickly goes, hides behind the broken wall. She quickly gets up from where she was. She gets up and she goes and she brings her veil down. She brings the sari to cover her face. As custom demands, daughters-in-law, it's not daughter-in-laws, it is daughters-in-law, that's the plural, must veil their faces before male elders. Obviously, when you have those male elders coming, entering, you don't sit there with, you have to use that ghungat. That's what they always do. They do it out of respect, and that was one of the traditions, which obviously no longer exists. Now, in this case, the elder is an impoverished bangle maker. Impoverished as in he was not getting the right nutrients. He did not get enough food. The body was not well built. It was impoverished. Despite long years of hard labor, first as a tailor, then a bangle maker, he has failed to renovate a house, send his 2 sons to school. Now, totally being impoverished, he was facing poverty most of the time. He tried very hard. He worked so hard, first as a tailor, then a bangle maker, but he failed to even collect that much money so that he could renovate his house or even send his sons to school. He couldn't do neither. Both the things were not possible because he did not earn that much. All he has managed to do is teach them what he knows, the art of making bangles. He didn't have anything else. All that he knew was the art, how to make the bangles. All that he knew, only that. So obviously that came from one generation to the other. It went from the father to the sons. He couldn't teach them to, he couldn't send them to school, but he made sure that he taught them how to make bangles so that even they could continue earning their money, their daily bread. It is his karam, his destiny, says Mukesh's grandma, who has watched her own husband go blind with the dust from polishing the glass of bangles. It is his karam, his destiny. The grandma, Mukesh's grandma, says that it is all our faith. We have just accepted it. It is in his faith. He had to work so hard. He even went blind. I have seen him go blind. Why? How? Because of the dust from polishing the bangles. Now that was a process. It is one of the process of making bangles. So when you do that, when you dust it, those tiny particles, those real tiny particles enter the naked eye because they are not using any protection for the eye. So those tiny particles, those dust particles, they are glass. It's not really dust. These are those tiny particles of glass which would enter their eyes, and because of that, they would go blind. Can a God-given lineage ever be broken? She implies. She says this is God-given. Lineage is coming from ancestors. It has come down, from one to the other, generation to generation. Is there no way out of this? This is what it implies. This is what it shows. Born in the caste of bangle makers, they have seen nothing but bangles. They are born in that family. They are born in that, continuous flow of tradition going on and on. In the house, in the yard, in every other house, every other yard, every street in Firozabad. She says, we are born in that and we have nothing. Wherever you see, wherever you go in Firozabad, all that you will see are colorful bangles everywhere. In every house, in every yard, everywhere, every street of Firozabad, you are only going to find bangles. Spirals of bangles, circles of bangles, sunny gold, paddy green, royal blue, pink, purple, every color born out of the 7 colors of the rainbow, lie in mounds in unkempt yards, are piled on 4-wheeled handcarts pushed by young men along the narrow lanes of the shanty town. Now, here she is talking about the beautiful colors, and those beautiful colors come with the permutation and combinations of the 7 colors of rainbow. We know Vibgyor, right? So the 7 colors of rainbow, mixing any of them, you get those different, you get combinations and you get various shades, different colors. Now, what she is telling you is that all these colorful bangles, they lie in mounds, in heaps. You have all heaped up, right? In unkempt yards, untidy. Anything lying anywhere, those yards, they are open yards. They cannot be tidied. So they are very unkempt, very untidily maintained. They are also piled on 4-wheeled handcarts. They make the bangles and then what? Then they put it on those handcarts and they go around to sell it, right? Pushed by young men along the lanes, the narrow lanes of the shanty town. That town is such, it has very, very narrow lanes, extremely narrow lanes, and going through those, crowded lanes, they go on those, they carry those bangles on the 4-wheeled carts to sell them. Students, let me tell you again, these words marked in red. We have our separate slides for the same. You have the meanings. So at any point of time you want to refer to them, you have them right here. It will be easy for you. In one go, you can get all the meanings. And in dark hutments, next to lines of flames of flickering oil lamps, sit boys and girls with their fathers and mothers, welding pieces of colored glass into circles of bangles. Now, in the dark hutments, the shack that we spoke about. Now, in those hutments, they are very dark. We already said, you remember in the beginning, there are no windows to it, right? Next to the lines of flames of flickering oil lamps. Now, you have those oil lamps. Again, they did not have lights then, right? They used to use oil. So, sitting next to that, the boys and girls with their fathers and mothers. Now, this is how, they did not attend any proper classes. They did not go for any course. That was not the case. Sitting as they were born, because they were not even going to school. There was no education for them because it was not affordable. These children would sit with their parents, right? And they would see what they are doing. So, when you see, it's like a live demo for them, right? Welding pieces of colored glass into circles of bangles. They would sit with them, watch them, and also practice it with them. And that is how they would eventually learn the art. Their eyes are more adjusted to the dark than to the light outside. That is why they often end up losing their eyesight before they become adults. What a plight. Their eyes were so used to the darkness of the house that they would not even like the bright light outside the doors. And their eyes were pretty used to that, the darkness everywhere and the fire. That was the light that was visible to them. But the saddest part was that before they even grew as adults, now you can imagine they are growing, right from childhood, they are into this practice and till they come up to their teens. Just as they come up to their teens and before they step into adulthood, they cross 18, what happens? They lose their eyesight By then, so many of those glass particles, those tiny dust, those particles have entered their eyes, that by the time they are 18, 20, 21, they have lost their eyesight, their vision. Savita, a young girl in a drab pink dress, sits alongside an elderly woman. Now, she is another young girl who's sitting there soldering pieces of glass. Now, she was also into the same profession. Like we all know, all these children are, they have no other choice basically in front of them. So she was nicely dressed in a pink dress, and she was sitting along an elderly woman. She was sitting next to her, and she was working on the pieces of glass. As her hands move mechanically like the tongs of a machine, I wonder if she knows the sanctity of the bangles she helps make. Now, Anish Jung saw her doing it, right? Now, her hands were moving so automatically, just like a machine, mechanically, just like the tongs. You know those tongs, there are those two, you have those two sticks that work like tongs. She was working as though her hands were tongs. Automatically it was going. She didn't have to even think what to do next. Should I be careful? She just went on continuously. She went on doing. She said the way she was making those bangles, I was just wondering, I mean, while I was watching her do it so beautifully, so flawlessly, so perfectly, that I wondered whether she knew the sanctity of the bangles she helps make. When she says this, when I watch her, and I just wonder if she knows the sanctity of the bangles. Sanctity as in that the value, the holy value behind it, the piousness behind it, that how it is used during pujas. It is that beautiful. It has that much value, that beautiful grace in them. But for her, they were just pieces of glass put together, not knowing what goes further with it. It symbolizes an Indian woman's suhag, auspiciousness in marriage. Now here we all know, like I already told you, those brides, they wear those red bangles, right? The bunch of red bangles that they put on their wrist. And you will see the Punjabis, I know of the Punjabis, they wear it for, I think, the first year together after marriage. So it gives a lot of value. It tells you that it's the sign of the symbol of their marriage, that they're newly married. Whenever we see such girls around, we know it symbolizes that they are newly married. It will dawn on her suddenly one day when her head is draped with a red veil, her hands dyed red with henna, and red bangles rolled onto her wrists. When she actually herself becomes a bride, when she will be in that red sari with a veil, that's with a gungat, when she will have mehndi on her hands, when she will have those red bangles on her wrists, only then will she get to know the value of those, the grace of those bangles which she is been making. She will then become a bride, like the old woman beside her who became one many years ago. That lady that elderly lady with whom she was sitting, obviously she had already become a bride years ago, and then soon even Savita will become. She still has bangles on her wrist, but no light in her eyes. That elderly woman is blind. Already discussed, as they get into adulthood, they lose their sight because of those many years that they have been working. So she still has bangles on her wrist. That old lady, she has bangles on her wrist, but no eyesight, no vision in her eyes. Ek waqt ser bhar khana bhi nahi khaya, she says in a voice drained of joy. She's saying, in the bargain of losing my eyesight, even though I have lost it, but in return what? Not even one complete meal till today. She says that in a voice drained of joy. Her voice had no joy, had no happiness. It was totally sad. She has not enjoyed even one full meal in the entire lifetime That's what she has reaped. That is the reward she has got for giving away her eyesight. Even after giving that, did she get only that? She didn't even get one complete meal. Her husband, an old man with a flowing beard, says, I know nothing except bangles. Her husband sitting next to her with a nice long beard, showing how old he was, says, I know nothing but to make bangles. That's what their ancestors taught them, and they taught their children. All I have done is make a house for the family to live in. He's saying, I could earn only that much. Now he had actually made a house for his family to live in. He had earned that much. Hearing him, one wonders if he has achieved what many have failed in their lifetime. He has a roof over his head. He at least got his roof. But what about those who couldn't even afford to build a house for their family? There were many who had failed to do it. He had at least succeeded in building a roof for his family. The cry of not having money to do anything except carry on the business of making bangles, not even enough to eat, rings in every home. What is going on in every home who are producing, who are making bangles? That same echo, that same cry, the same pain which has been coming, just like the art of making bangles has been coming from generation to generation. Along with that, by default, the pain of not having earned enough has also been coming from generation to generation. They are going through the same sorrows, same trouble, same depression, same tension. So this is what this line is telling you. The cry of not having money to do anything except carry on the business of making bangles, right? They had nothing, they had no money to do anything apart from making bangles, not even enough to eat, rings in every home. This is the same bell, this is the same voice that is going on, the same echo which has been coming from ancestors, is the same thing going on in every house. The young men echo the lament of their elders, the pain, the misery. The young men echo that. Like I told you, the fathers went through the same pain, the same sorrow, and the children are going through the same. So it is echoing. That same pain is being carried forward. It is reflecting. Little has moved with time, it seems, in Firozabad. Maybe a little things have changed. A few things have changed here and there. Years of mind-numbing toil have killed all initiatives and the ability to dream. The years of mind-numbing toil. What is mind-numbing toil? Mind-numbing means the mind has been, enveloped. It has been filled with such dense thoughts, dense hard work, that they cannot even think anything apart from that. Their brain, their thinking process has been blocked. It is choked up. They don't even, it's not even possible for them to have a normal thought. So closed their minds have become. And the toil, the literal hard work, they have killed all initiatives and the ability to dream. This has choked their minds so badly, it is so suffocating that they have literally stopped dreaming. Not a single dream, not the initiative, nothing is there that they can think of doing something else, come out of this. Nothing of that happens because that mind has been totally blocked. Why not organize yourselves into a cooperative? I ask a group of young men who have fallen into the vicious circle of middlemen who trapped their fathers and forefathers. Now, she comes across a group of young men. She says, why don't you people convert yourselves into a cooperative organization? A cooperative, we all know, when 10 people come together, they form a group, they work for the same goal. Now, all of them are glass making people. All of them are doing the same business. So why not come together and form a cooperative? She gives them a suggestion. She says, you people who have fallen into the vicious, that cruel circle, that very, dirty circle, a very cruel circle of middlemen who trapped their fathers and their forefathers. Now, who are these middlemen? These people, they did not give scope to their ancestors, to the elders of these young men, the fathers, the forefathers. They were, tuned, they were trapped in such a manner that they felt, okay, we cannot do anything beyond this. But they were the middlemen who were to be blamed. They actually created a circumstance in such a manner that these poor people did not even try thinking out of the box. Even if we get organized, we are the ones who will be hauled up by the police, beaten and dragged to jail for doing something illegal, they say. They say, your suggestion is great, but if we even land up doing this, if we also give it a try, give it a shot, you know what will happen? We only will be in trouble. We will put the axe on our foot. We will be falling into trouble. How? Why? Because we are doing something illegal. We are it is child labor, and as we are all aware, it is against the government law. So in fact, we will be beaten and we will be dragged to jail for doing something of this sort. There is no leader among them, no one who could help them see things differently. There was no one to show them that ray of hope, no one to guide them, no one to escort them to come out of this pain. Their fathers are as tired as they are. It has been continuing. It has been a continuous process. They talk endlessly in a spiral that moves from poverty to apathy to greed to injustice. Now, their fathers are as tired as they are. Now, because has anything changed? Nothing. What their fathers did, these young men are doing. So there has been no change. So what it has all led to, they talk endlessly, they go non-stop in a spiral. It's a very continuous cycle. It's going continuous. It moves from poverty, no money, apathy to greed to injustice. They are obviously they've stopped thinking. They know it has to be like this. They are looking for money. Now because they are looking for money, they have that greed and total injustice, because obviously if they are looking for something that they want and they are not getting it, it is total injustice. Listening to them, I see two distinct worlds. When I heard them, she was that person, the I here is Anis Jung. She is talking of the two different worlds. One of the family caught in a web of poverty, burdened by the stigma of caste in which they are born. Now she says one side I can see that there is this family, these families, all of them, who are in a web of poverty. The spider's web, right? They are totally stuck in that poverty. They are not, there's no chance for them to come out of it. They are burdened by the stigma of caste. Stigma of caste is something that they've got it in them, that they are born in that, so they are supposed to do that. That's that kalank, that stigma in which they are born. The other, a vicious, a cruel circle of the sahukars, the money lenders, the middlemen, the policemen, the keepers of law, the bureaucrats, the government officials, and the politicians. The other side whom I see, now everyone is living in the same era, correct? These people are also the same humans. Here this side, if you see all the middlemen, the government officials, the police people, the politicians, the keepers of the law, all of them are there one side, and this side is the families where they are making bangles. They both are living in the same era. Then why this injustice? Why is it that these people are living such a lavish life? The money lenders, they are lending money. How do they get that money? Whereas these people don't even have money enough for one meal. She could see both the worlds. Together, they have imposed the baggage on the child that he cannot put down. Now, these people put this injustice, all the pressure to the generation that's coming up. The families are already doing that. So, ultimately, it is this child who stands no choice. He has to take it. He has to carry the baggage of the burden. That baggage of doing that is already there on the child. He cannot put it down. Before he is aware, he accepts it as naturally as his father. He's born, he's growing. He's growing in what atmosphere? He's watching everyone make bangles. He's sitting next to his elders. He's learning the same art. He doesn't even know, he's not even aware of things. He hasn't even grown up and he's already learned the art of making bangles. Before he even gets aware of things, before he even grows up, he is already making it. He has already accepted the fact that, look, this is my world. This dingy cell, this hot cell where I have to make bangles is what my life is defined as. To do anything else would mean to dare. If he would try doing anything else, it would be a daring thing. It would really be very to come out of that thing and out of the suffering and out of the pain and try something else. And daring is not part of his growing up. He's never seen it. He's never, generally how children, how do they get things when they see, people around them, the people in the family, the members in the family, when they do things, they learn out of it. Now these people have only seen people making bangles. They have not seen their family members, try to do something else, try coming out of this, break this vicious circle and try something new. They've not seen it. So they have grown up with the trend that this is it. This is the only thing. When I sense a flash of it in Mukesh, I am cheered. She says, you remember Mukesh's, I have a dream, okay? He wants to become a mechanic. Right? So when she sees, then she suddenly realizes that thank God Mukesh is one such solo character amongst so many who has a dream to become a mechanic. He is ready to break that circle, that cruel, that vicious circle. He is ready to, with the daring to come out of it and try something new. I want to be a motor mechanic, he repeats. He will go to a garage and learn, but the garage is a long way from his home. I will walk, he insists. She tells him, look, that garage is so far. How will you go? He says, no problem. I want to become one. I will walk up to it, but I will achieve my dream. Do you also dream of flying a plane? He is suddenly silent. She asks him, Anish Jung asks Mukesh, you're talking of a car, but do you also dream of flying a plane? And he has no answer. He's suddenly silent. No, he says, staring at the ground. In his small murmur there is an embarrassment that has not yet turned into regret. Why is it an embarrassment? Cars, he had seen in those, small streets of Firozabad, he had seen cars moving around. But he had never come across planes. He had not seen planes flying over Firozabad. He is content to dream of cars that he sees hurtling down the streets, going down those narrow streets of his town. Few aeroplanes fly over Firozabad. Because, flying a plane is totally out of his capacity. Totally. He dreamt according to his capacity. To be a mechanic was okay for him. But plane was something, it was sort of an invalid dream. So it's the case when you keep dreams, they should be mindful. They should be as per your potential. They should be approachable. That is how was the dream of our Mukesh. So when you cease to dream, you cease to live. Yes, students. When you stop, cease is to stop. When you stop dreaming, you stop living. So always keep dreaming really big, attain your goals, work for them, and make sure you're there. So keep watching and keep learning.